Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 podcast, formerly known as the 1894 podcast, but my usual co-host was losing sleep over that, so we've changed it to the 1894. Dara would usually be here with us, but we have Joe with us because Dara's having technical issues. So Joe is going to review City Liverpool with me. A 4-1 win. The Anfield curse is over. 4-1, 2003 to 2021. RIP Anfield curse. Joe, talk to me, mate. What are your first initial thoughts? The game has just ended at the time of recording about an hour and a half ago, so it's still raw.
Well, personally, myself, I wasn't born the last time we won at Anfield, so that's the first time I've seen us win there. And, I mean, did we deserve to score 4 goals? Maybe, but we capitalised on mistakes, which is something that usually we don't do, because we usually don't like sticking the ball in the back of the net. But we managed to capitalise on a few mistakes, win the game, curse is broken, and we go again.
Curse is broken. Curse is broken. I suppose the only real thing of note in the first half to talk about before we get on to the big, impactful second half is Gundogan. We got a penalty. Gundogan stepped up, and I don't know what it is with Manchester City Football Club, but there's not an outfield player in the team capable of hitting the back of the net from 12 yards. I'm actually starting to consider maybe Ederson being a realistic option. Mate, what did you think when Gundogan skied that over the bar?
It's just typical, really. It's not like we don't have anyone who can put it in the back of the net. It seems to us, well, to me at least, that we don't have anyone who's capable of even putting it on target. Because, I mean, if he puts it on target, Allison might have saved it because they both went to the left. But he didn't even get it on target, so we'll never have known. But the first thing, the basics, is just when you go in to take a penalty, just make sure you get it on target. If the keeper saves it, he saves it, but you got it on target, so it could have gone in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went in at halftime at 0-0. And to be honest, I was getting a bit concerned because I thought Liverpool were going to pick up some momentum from us missing the penalty. I thought Klopp was going to change his system. They were going to come out all guns blazing. But it wasn't to be. We came out and Mr. Whippy redeems himself. He scores a goal. He didn't actually just score. When he scored 2, he more than redeemed himself. He did fantastic tonight. And I think that's 9 goals in 11 games now for Ilkay Gundogan. I don't know where this form has come from. We said it in the Burnley review. We said it in our podcast. The guy is absolutely on fire right now. What are you thinking about Gundogan these days? Is he the star of the team while Kevin De Bruyne is out?
He's the star of the team with or without Kevin De Bruyne because he was.
That's where he had a sound effect.
He was contributing even when he was in the team. He was arguably our best midfielder, even when KDB was in the team. But now that he's out, it just shows how important he is. And we had to say we haven't missed a player like Kevin De Bruyne is massive for the players that have stepped up in his place.
It's weird, isn't it? Isn't it weird to say that we don't like we obviously missed Kevin De Bruyne, but we haven't suffered hugely, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think a player worth giving a massive shout out tonight is Mr. Rodri. I've not always been Rodri's biggest fan, but tonight I think I can say hand on heart he had his best game in a City shirt. Some people might disagree with me and bring up some old moments of the screamer he scored versus Burnley and whatnot, but the guy was absolutely fantastic tonight. He was breaking up Liverpool attacks. His passing was fantastic, and he was just doing the basics correct. It's the basics of football, to quote Fabian Delph, and he just did them perfectly. And that's all we want from our CDM in Rodri. And we just want him to do the basics correctly. What did you think of him tonight? Do you agree with me that he was superb?
I think he's been superb for the last few games he's played. I don't think he's in the last 3. I mean, how many games has he played where he hasn't put a foot wrong? Because he played really well against Burnley. I think he was man of the match against Burnley. But again tonight, I think this is the best that we've ever seen from Rodri. And if he can keep this up, then maybe we don't have to think about, is he the right man, is he not? Because at the moment, he's doing everything right.
And it's tough to take someone like Fernandinho's place because Fernandinho is absolutely sick. And he's just been offered a coaching role at City as well, I believe, Fernandinho. So big shout out to him for that. Anyway, the third goal came in by someone who's broken his own Anfield curse. Someone who struggles to play well at Anfield, in my opinion, in the past few years is Raheem Sterling. But he scored a goal tonight. He's broken his own curse, like I said, and it was a great goal. Bernardo chipped it over Allison. Some great build to play. Coming from a mistake from Allison, I think that's a talking point worth bringing up. Allison was a big assist for us tonight, really. He slotted us through many times. Dreadful, absolutely. What do you think about Sterling's goal and Alisson's performance? Because he was a great asset to City.
Well, I don't want to mention Allison too much because I have a feeling that someone might be on later to maybe bring a few points about that. But he was...
Stay tuned.
He was abysmal. He kept giving the ball away. I mean, I think he made 2 mistakes that led to goals for us, which is appalling for a goalkeeper. You shouldn't be doing that. But I'm happy for Sterling. He has scored at Anfield now in a City
Uh-huh.
shirt. He's broke his own duct. It was a header as well, something that we don't see often.
Absolutely. It's great to see, isn't it?
I mean, but I want to
Um,
touch on Bernardo just a little bit as well because he was amazing yet again. I think we're finally starting to see the best of him now. He's got a good run in the team. He's been playing really well, and I don't want to say Kevin De Bruyne would struggle to get back into this team because we know
ooh.
how good he is. But based on form, he doesn't walk straight back in for me.
Do you reckon?
No.
So what's your ideal midfield? The exact same one that started tonight?
The exact same one that started tonight. When Kevin De Bruyne comes back from injury, obviously, I'd start him off the bench, get him some minutes, but I think we've got to stick with what works. Pep Guardiola has said before earlier this season that he says, if you're playing well, the shirt is yours, you play. We've seen that with Cancelo. He's now playing ahead of Walker, which we didn't think was, if you asked anyone at the start, if you told anyone at the start of the season that Cancelo was going to play over Walker for most of the games, you'd be laughing. You would never think that's possible, but he has done. I think Kevin De Bruyne will get back into the team, but I think it's a more, ease him back in because the players ahead of him are doing well, and I don't want to disrupt the flow. I wouldn't put him straight back in though.
Yeah, exactly. Why fix something that's not broken? But before we talk about the fourth and final goal, I want to talk a little bit about our defense, right? I thought they were all good. They all had a decent performance, but I am a massive fan of Ruben Diaz. I think he's worked wonders for solidifying our overall defense. But tonight he was maybe slightly below par by his own standards, and he's probably due a performance like that, to be fair to him. You can't come out and be absolutely amazing every week. He gave away the penalty, but I think there is an argument to say that it wasn't a penalty. I know by law it is, but listen, I'm being a bit biased here. I just felt it was a little bit harsh, a little bit of theatrics from Salah. Diaz was also a little bit sloppy with his passing at occasions, but overall he was good. Some great headers, some great clearances, some good tackling. What did you make of Diaz tonight, Joe?
I think it's his first rocky game that he's had, which is an understatement, really, because he hasn't dipped below a very, very, very high level for us for the rest of the season, I'd say. But what a time to make, a blunder, really, at Anfield. It didn't prove costly in the end because we still won pretty comfortably. But, I mean, he was due a bad game at some point because we'd been on an incredible run, and he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. I don't think he was absolutely awful, but there was
Allison.
a couple of moments.
Yeah, so he was probably due a bad performance, and we'll let him away with it because he is actually sick. Anyways, let's move on to the fourth and final goal. My favorite player of all time, the 20-year-old wonder. It's Mr. Phil Foden. He scored off his left foot. He cut in. He absolutely lashed one over Allison Becker. People say maybe the keeper could have done a little bit better, but I'm going to give Foden that as a wonder goal. He's improving at a rate of knots, this guy. He can play a number of positions, and he's absolutely smashing it. Maybe he had a slight dip in form recently, but even for him, the dip in form wasn't bad in comparison to other players. But he was fantastic tonight, particularly in the second half. He was a little bit quiet in the first half when he was playing that kind of false nine role. But when they moved him out to the wide, they gave him more space. He was causing trouble for the Liverpool full-backs. What did you make of him?
It was the introduction of Jesus for Mahrez switched the system, the front three, asking Foden to play out wide again, where he's been so effective in the last few games, like West Brom. He was incredible yet again. I do agree with you. I think he was a bit quiet in the first half, playing the false nine. I don't think he's as good there as he is out wide because he's not the strongest of players. He's just technically very good on the ball. But I know Dara wants to ask this question, and he tried to ask it the first time he tried to do this. What's his best position?
What is Foden's best position? The thing is, with a player of his quality, that's a really tough question. I think ultimately, when he hits his peak, which God knows what that'll be, because just before I give you my actual answer to the question, Guardiola said in his interview tonight that Foden's still got a huge amount of learning and developing to do. So if Foden still has learning and developing to do, and I know he does because he's 20, but if that's the case, he's going to be a scary, scary player at his full potential. But to answer your question, I think he'll ultimately be a midfielder. He'll slot into that role that David Silva used to play and probably offer a little bit more than Silva did in terms of scoring goals. Foden is a clinical finisher, and he's proven that time and time again, particularly this season. He's really, really coming into his skin. He's very good on the left. We've seen that. That's where Pep likes playing on the most at the moment. But I do think ultimately midfield is where he'll play. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I see a long-term future for him in the midfield. I'd say probably once Gundogan leaves, because he's doing well at the moment, and I'm not saying shift him on after this season, but he's 30. He hasn't got the best injury record, and I think in the next few years, probably when we start to see players probably like him leave, maybe in the next couple of years. I don't know how long he's got left on his contract, but I'd say him and Kevin De Bruyne as a midfield two ahead of Rodri. It's probably the best midfields that we're going to have in the next few seasons.
Disgusting thinking about it, isn't it? How good that'll be. A full prime Phil Foden beside Kevin De Bruyne. And who knows who we'll bring in the summer? Maybe a little Lionel Messi, maybe an Erling Haaland. We could be onto something amazing here. But before we go on to our player ratings, I want to ask you a question now, Joe. It's a big one. And put a little bit of thought into it before you answer, because it could be big. Do you think that is Liverpool completely out of the title race? And do you think that's us going on to win the title now? Do you see us being stopped?
I can't see us being stopped, no. We've got, especially if we come out of February. If we come out of February top, which we're in a very good position to do now, and we should do, I think we've won it. Because after February, we've got United in March, pretty early on in March. And I think after that, the only traditional Big Six game, I call it that because Arsenal aren't there really, but the only one after that is Chelsea. So we're in a really good position now. We don't look like conceding many goals. We conceded one today, which is the first one I think we've conceded in the league since we played Chelsea, and that was just our last minute. We switched off because it was like the last kick of the game. But unless we get, an injury to like Diaz or, even Edison, I'm not worried about losing Edison again because Stefan did really well when he came in. So I can't see he's being stopped. Aguero's coming back. De Bruyne will be back soon as well. I think we're looking up from now.
Mate, you're pumping optimism into me. I'm absolutely loving that answer, and I agree with you 100%. I think this was like a watershed sort of a game where, like, if we win this, it's not just 3 points at the board; it's a massive statement. We're now 10 points clear of Liverpool with a game in hand. We're 5 points clear of Man United with a game in hand, or is it 2 games in hand? I don't know, but either way,
I think it's 2 games in hand for now. I don't know. I'm not sure.
We're a good bit ahead of the rest, though. And we've got Spurs next week. We'll have previews for that. We've got Swans on Tuesday. We'll have previews for that. Anyways, a 4-1 comprehensive win for Manchester City tonight. We're going to put our player ratings up on the screen now, so have a look at them. If you agree with them, let us know in the comments. If there's anything you might change or tell us we've got wrong in terms of rating players, do let us know. And thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like, subscribe, please. We're on the road to 100, and we're really trying to get there. That's our first target we're trying to hit. So if you enjoyed the content and you want some more, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one.
How's it going, everyone? Like you said, I've had some major technical issues. Hopefully we can get sorted soon. But yeah, they've both summed up my thoughts pretty well now. I'm happy we've done that. It's going to give us great confidence, going to build upon it. Foden, brilliant. Gundogan was pretty good. Well, he started off with shit, but we're grand. Everyone's gone out, done their part, and I'm happy to get the win. So we'll come back now, and we'll have to beat Swansea to keep going.